Okay, we're going to get started, so if everybody please rise for the flag pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, good evening. Welcome to the County Planning Commission, Morrison County Planning Commission public hearing for May 16th, 2023. I have a few items to cover before we get started. Please sign in at the door if you have not done so yet. There will also find a detailed handout of the step-by-step procedure we will follow tonight. If you wish to take one, please put any electronic devices on a silent mode at this time. Please note that all testimony is being recorded for the record. Members of the Planning Commission are appointed by the County Board of Commissioners with one member from each of the 5 commissioner districts. Land Service staff is here to assist the Planning Commission with its duties. The task of the Planning Commission is to hold the public hearing and to make a recommendation to the County Board of Commissioners for approval or denial of requests for conditional and interim use permits, rezones, plats, and ordinance amendments in accordance with state law and county ordinance. The burden of proving a request meets the criteria for approval rests with the applicant. There is a protocol for how we will proceed tonight. For each request on the agenda, we will hear a staff report, hear testimony from the applicants, and then we will discuss and gather more information as needed. Next, we will ask if there is anyone in the audience wishing to speak to the request. I will ask each party to come to the podium, state their name and address for the record, and give their testimony. Please be factual as possible and direct all statements and questions to me. After all testimony is completed, I will close the public hearing portion of the process. The Planning Commission will then review and discuss the case in terms of our finding of fact criteria as required by state statute and county ordinance. We will have a series of votes, discuss whether conditions be made. Then there will be a final motion to recommend approval or denial to the County Board of Commissioners. After this final vote on your request, you may leave if you wish. The County Board of Commissioners will then consider the request and our recommendation at their next regular meeting and will either grant or deny the request. Where did my sheet go? I lost it. Okay, so we have one agenda on the Planning Commission agenda tonight, and that is Scott and Juanita Matvick. If you guys would please come up and sit up here. And then, so they're at 4664 360th Avenue, Foley, Minnesota. Application for conditional use permit to expand to a Tier 2 poultry feedlot located in the northwest half of Southwest Quarter, Section 36, Township 39, Range 29, Morrill Township. So if you guys would please speak into the microphone and state your names for the record.
Jacinta Matvick.
Scott Matvick.
Can you say your name again? I pronounced that wrong.
Jacinta. I go by
Okay.
Jan.
Okay.
It's easier.
We'll say Jan, thanks. All right. Okay, so Amy, you ready for that staff report?
I am, Mr. Chair. Again, this is an application to expand to a Tier 2 poultry feedlot located in Section 36 of Morrill Township. The ordinance reference for this is Section 604.6, and that requires a conditional use permit for establishment of feedlots. Here's a plat map of Morrill Township, and the red dot is the location of the parcel. And then here's the conditional use permit request received from the applicant. And then also some site drawings also provided by the applicant. Here's an aerial photograph of the parcel. It's outlined in blue. And then also some oblique imagery of the property. The applicant owns and lives on this 80-acre parcel, and a Tier 1, which is 50 to 300 animal units poultry feedlot, exists on the property. The total animal units currently are 217. The applicant is proposing to expand to a Tier 2, which is 301 to 650 animal units, and that's through the construction of an additional poultry barn south of the existing barn. And the total proposed animal units are 412. The existing poultry barn is compliant for feedlot standards, although the existing barn does not meet today's side property line setback. It's 100 feet from the property line, and 200 feet is now required. The new barn would meet the setback. Manure stockpiling on native soils is occurring on site. While the soils are of suitable texture, there is a perched water table that does not provide for adequate separation. There are plans to construct a manure sacking slab for manure storage. The feedlot officer recommends installation of a cement slab with curbing in the meantime to provide containment. For manure application, the applicant currently utilizes 121 acres of their own land. The acreage is in Morrill Township in Morrison County. With the additional barn, 124 spreadable acres is needed to utilize nitrogen, and 339 acres is needed to utilize phosphorus. The applicant has entered into manure transfer agreements with other property owners located in Morrill Township in Morrison County and locations in Benton County for a total of 934.6 spreadable acres. The offset rating for this feedlot is 98%, and that does include the additional barn. And the applicant submitted a Morrison County Good Neighbor plan. That plan identifies that manure will be spread on the ground surface in the fall and composting occurs for mortalities. The odor minimization plan, and that plan identifies development of a neighbor relation plan, establishment of adequate separation distances, composting and management of mortalities in an enclosed structure, treatment of escaping air with control technologies, covering of the soil, solid manure stockpile for odor minimization. Stormwater plan was also submitted for feedlot construction, and that plan identifies a wetland and a stream within 1 mile of the project property edge. During construction, minimization of soil disturbance and vegetative buffers will be utilized for temporary erosion prevention and sediment control. The applicant has been made aware that a water appropriation permit may be needed from the DNR. Agriculture zoning is the only district where new feedlots are allowed. The Morrison County Land Use Ordinance states, the purpose of the agriculture zoning district is to promote and protect areas which have high-quality agriculture lands and are essentially rural in nature. Within this district, agriculture activities shall be given preference over other uses. The applicable comprehensive plan goals and objectives is in agriculture is goal A1, objectives 1 and 4, objectives 8, and then goal A2 and A3, and A4, objectives 1 and 3. And then the comprehensive water plan goals and objectives is groundwater, goal 1 and 2, surface water goal, objective A, land use and development goal, objective A. An environmental review was conducted by the Soil and Water Conservation District, and that was included in your packet. But the comments and recommendations from that was that the site is adequate to increase to a Tier 2 operation. Site preparation to level the area will be extensive, but there are soil borrow areas on the site. The area of manure stockpiling is not suitable due to the perched water table, and there was recommendation of a concrete stacking slab to store the poultry litter. A recommended condition, if this is approved, would be prior to stocking the additional barn, a concrete pad with curbing shall be installed for storage of poultry litter. The location of the pad shall be approved by the Morrison County Feedlot Officer. 26 notices were sent, and I have in here that no comment was received, but we did receive one. And it is from Mark and Peggy Reimer, and they stated that they support the conditional use permit request. Otherwise, no comment was received. And then here are your conditional use criteria questions, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Amy. So at this time, would applicants have anything additional to say to what she had, or?
I don't think so.
Okay, I'm sure we'll have some questions. Anybody on the planning commission have any questions for the applicants or staff at this time?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Brent.
just one follow-up question. The recommendation was for this concrete pad. Can you just let us know kind of what your thoughts are on that and if that condition is agreeable to you?
Yes, we're looking at putting another barn up this summer. Just getting some numbers for excavating right now. So that'll change where I originally was gonna put the building. But once we get this other barn built, then we'll move forward, getting a stacking slab.
We've been working with the NRC on a grant opportunity, so we've been working with them for about 4 years. And they're just like, keep holding on. One more year you might get it, but I know we've been talking about putting something in. So as Scott said, it might move with how the layout of the new barn would be. But if we do put in the secondary barn, which is what this application is for, we'll probably be further to the south, away from the wetland, and yeah, we're gonna put a concrete slab in when we do it. But we're kind of waiting. We have a couple of different options available. That I know there's a clean water program that we might be able to apply for some dollars, but Terry kind of said, let's just stay on the list a little bit and see if we can get into that conservation piece. So we did do like a burner management plan with them, and a lot of what we've built up so far that he's out on file for the last few years as we've been waiting for that stacking slab.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Amy.
may I ask a question of the applicant?
Yes, go ahead.
I just want to clarify what Brent is asking you, because this condition would be not when funding comes through.
No, we
It's
understand that.
before you stock that second barn, you must have at least a concrete slab with curbing in place. And then when and if that funding comes through, then you would be, you would probably be building the stacking slab. But until then, you would need to be doing something else. You'd need to be putting in something. And I think I want to make sure that you're clear on that.
Right, so if the second barn, so regardless, we're gonna be putting something in for our first barn, even though we kind of, it's a learning experience. It's really been interesting working with Rob at the county. But, yes, we know if we do put in the second barn, we're gonna be putting in the excavating for the stacking slab.
Okay.
But the second barn, if we get an excavator, is probably not gonna start until like August, which means we won't even be looking at, taking litter out of that barn till sometime probably early next spring.
Okay, but this condition would be prior to stocking the barn, so prior to birds
Right,
going into that
right.
barn. So I
Yep,
just
and
want to
that
make
would
sure
be
you're
in
very,
spring of
very
next
clear.
year.
When
Yep.
we
Yep.
already have it set up to put the stacking slab along with the construction of the new barn to get the pad put there.
Perfect,
And we plan on moving forth if we get funding or not
okay.
to
Thank you.
put it up. Because, yeah, we've been waiting 4 years already and they keep saying, oh, yeah, next year. And then I don't have strong, beliefs that we'll get any funding for it, and we'll just have to fit the bill ourselves,
Okay.
but.
And then I think working with soil and water and Rob in the zoning with the feedlot area, what we kind of did when we found out and they came out, we put a what do they call?
Berm
A berm
around it.
around it at this point, and Rob's like, hey, that's great until we get going, because nobody's really ever come out and said, hey, you're doing this wrong or different, or so yeah, we're learning a lot of things. It's been very informational, and he's been really good to work with.
Thank you.
Brent, does that
Is that
satisfy you?
Yep.
Okay. Anyone else?
Mr. Chair.
Dave, go ahead.
Yeah, a little more detail on that issue. So presently in your barn that you have,
Yep.
you have a slab at the end of the barn with a berm around it, if I understood you right?
Yes.
That's an earth berm,
Yes.
okay? And that, okay, and when you put up the new barn, you'd have a concrete slab with a concrete berm around
Yes.
it if the new engineered stacking slab isn't in place.
Yeah.
So you have place for manure, stacking manure safely for both barns.
Yeah, we're planning on putting a 60 by 80 with 6-foot walls and then roof and the whole 9 yards is what I plan on putting up.
Okay, so all from, once you're tier 2, from that point on, all manure will be stacked in a slab situation with retaining walls and preferably covered at some
Yes.
point.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if Ellen is going to come up and say anything about that or clarify or not.
Yeah,
but-
he will. Go ahead, Marvin.
Mr. Chair. Anyhow, mine will piggyback also off that. And one of our greatest resources is our water. And obviously, you know, you got a high water table, and it sounded like some contamination was happening, and you're going to be doing something about it, which is great. And I definitely agree with this recommendation before we can go ahead and allow this, that you need to do something to prevent that from being an issue going forward.
Yeah, like she said, a lot of this we didn't really realize until we applied for a tier 2 that we needed to do something different. I mean, I see a lot of barns where they have it stockpiled outside, so I never really gave a big thought to it until, like I said, we started looking at going to tier 2, and they say, well, you gotta do this and this and this, you know, it's kind of the first time we kind of heard about it type of thing, so.
Okay.
But no, our plans are to get it up off the ground and on concrete and
Okay,
stuff like that, so.
that'd be great. Thank you.
John, do you have any questions for the applicants?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So I have one thing I think it's kind of confusing to me, and maybe it is to you. So you're saying you're gonna put a cement slab, and then eventually you wanna build a manure stacking slab, and you're gonna put that manure stacking slab on the cement slab that you're gonna pour. Is that correct in my hearing?
I'd like to just build one stacking slab and so it can hold both barns at one time.
Yes, but what I'm saying is, so until you get a manure stacking slab, let's say through NRCS, you were gonna just pour some cement with a curb, and then eventually you would build that manure stacking slab on top of that
Well, do we
concrete.
have time to just include it with the new barn?
Right.
Or,
Yeah, you can. The only reason I'm asking this question is because it probably has no pertinence to this. But if you pour some concrete now, and then next year you get approved to put up a manure stacking slab, it can't go on top of that concrete that you put.
oh, no, I know that.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, then I'm good. I think that handled most of my questions, because a lot of the concern in this whole packet that we have is with the type of soil you have.
Yep.
And with the dirt stacking, with the water going down with only a 16 to 24 inch, water table below the soil. I think that was everybody's biggest concern. And then, if we put a condition on that you had a cement slab with a berm to store that poultry litter until you could establish a stacking slab, I think that kind of alleviates some of these problems that we have, so. Just wanted to make sure and clarify all that, so.
Well, we're kind of brainstorming that if the stacking slab doesn't come through, we always need more equipment storage. So
Yeah.
we are kind of build out a shed with a stacking slab piece and
Yeah.
talk with Rob and Terry on what we need for compliance and thickness of concrete and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay. So anybody else have any more questions for him? If not, we'll move to the, open this meeting to the audience for public comment. If they have any, if you would please go up to the microphone and, speak to this, state your name for the record, that'd be great. Alan, you have anything that you wanted to add to this? I know you gave a report, but. Okay, is there any public input? Any public input? I'll ask one more time. Any public comment? If hearing none, we'll close this portion of the meeting to the public for public comment. I don't believe there's any township person here. Okay, anybody have any other further questions or comments for the applicant? I have one question, maybe, Amy. In the staff report, there was something that said possibly they'd need a water appropriation permit. Did we hear anything on that or no, or?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, it really depends on if they're going to use the existing well or drill a second one. So the way the DNR looks at that is the total draw off of a individual well. So we do cover that in the development review team meeting. And so they know that if they're drilling a separate well, they will not need an appropriation permit, but if they're gonna service both barns, then they than likely will need one. And so that is, something that they would need to pursue with the DNR if that situation arises.
So that really don't affect us today?
No, it would
Okay.
not.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any other questions for the applicants? Are you guys ready to go through kind of our question sheet here? Okay, if not, we'll go through our criteria questions. I think majority of our questions were answered with the one condition, so we gotta keep that in mind when we're kind of talking through these questions. So we'll start question 1. The use will not put an excess burden on roadways, utilities, and public facilities such as parks and schools. We'll start with John.
So you got, sorry. There won't be an excessive burden on this. You'll have the extra barn in there and you'll have an extra truck in there every 8 weeks or so, right, when the birds are growing,
Yes,
so.
correct, but we also have a gravel pit, and there's trucks that go numerous times down the road, so I don't think it's gonna cause any
Right, so,
harm to the road whatsoever, so.
you bet. So I think you're clear on number 1, sir.
Okay, anybody else have anything to add to question 1? Okay, we'll move on to question 2. The request will not be detrimental to the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted, nor impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding vacant property for uses predominant area. And we'll start with that one. I believe that this request will not be detrimental. There's already a barn there. It's out in ag. Where the placement of it, it's not like it's right by the road. It's gonna kind of be part of the farmyard. Most people that drive by, unless they live right across the road from it, ain't even gonna know that there's a second barn. It's just one of them things when you drive by, you're just gonna see a poultry facility. Gonna use the same driveway, gonna use the same access. All it's gonna do is maybe an extra feed truck here and there. So there isn't gonna be a ton of extra traffic where the neighbors will see that. So, and then being it's already out in ag, it's permitted to have poultry barns out in ag zoning. So, and there isn't a lot of houses really, really close. So it isn't like he's in that these applicants are in a real highly residential area or nothing like that. So I would say yes to question 2. Anybody have anything to add to question 2?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Dave.
very similar to yours, but, yeah, in the environmental review, the neighbors were listed there 2,267 feet, the nearest to 5,376 feet away. Those neighbors within a mile, I assume it was. And there's a 98% odor offset. Hard to get a higher rating than that as far as what it would be annoying to others. So, yeah, I see no detrimental use here to others than the intended use of the land.
Okay, thank you. Any others? Okay, we'll move to question 3. The use and opinion of the planning commission is reasonably related to the existing land use and the environment. Groundwater, surface water, and air quality in the surrounding area will not be adversely affected by the proposed use. Brent, we'll start with you.
I've got a couple comments here. This is rural egg property. The request is reasonably related to that because it's agricultural use predominant in that vicinity. The existing land, I didn't see any rivers or in the immediate area. It looks like we got some streams and ditches 600 to 900 feet away. The concrete pad, we've talked about that for water issues and groundwater because of the water table there. I think that's important that we address that with a condition. The air quality offset for the feedlot is 98%. We've already talked about that a little bit. And there is a spread for the manure utilizing 934 acres. So I think it's reasonably related to the existing land use in the area, and don't see where it's in conflict with groundwater, surface, or air quality.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I tend to agree with all your statement. I think by conditioning the cement slab to stack the manure on, that kind of alleviates our question on the groundwater and the surface water. So I think that's really important, and so I agree with that. Anybody else have anything to add to question 3?
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I agree with everything both you guys said, but I'd just like to add that seem to have a very good working relationship with both the feedlot officer and soil and water, and are interested in making improvements and are enthusiastic about it even, it sounds like. So groundwater, surface water has been noted by 2 professionals that can help them make sure it stays protected.
Okay, we'll move on to question 4. The use is consistent with the purposes of the zoning ordinance and the purposes of the zoning district in which the applicant intends to locate the proposed use. Dave Stish?
Yeah, if we look at the staff report at the back of it, there's the comprehensive plan goals and objectives that are cited there. I don't see any of them that are not consistent with this proposed project. Especially protect and provide high-quality groundwater, protect all surface waters, compatible with other uses of the land, and reduce impacts of ag runoff. All those things have been addressed here.
Dave, I think a lot of that you're stating should be for number 5.
Oh, am I not on number 5?
4.
I'm on number 4. I'm sorry. Well, give that to number 5.
Yeah.
Number 4, yeah, it's zoned ag, and feedlots are, it's the only place they're allowed is in ag.
Okay, anything else? I'd just like to add that that's in, our ag ordinance. It's agriculture's the primary use for the ag zoning. This is agriculture. I think it's all reasonable what they're trying to do to make a living, go up a tier. There's enough land to do it. They show a great manure management plan, willingness to work with the different agencies to make it a good farming practice, and that's what we're always looking for. So I think where they intend to locate it with a condition for taking care of, make sure some of the water issues are not a problem. I think that, yes, you could answer number 4 in the affirmative that way. Anything else? Otherwise, we'll move to question 5. Okay, we'll move to question 5. The use is not in conflict with the comprehensive plan or the water plan of the county. Marvin?
Yes, and the reason why is your willingness to putting up a stacking slab and put curbing on it to prevent further contamination, and then also your willingness to work with your professionals, soil and water, and then having a manure management plan. It's definitely your willingness, like Dave stated, to work with the trained professionals and putting this slab in will make it actually better than what you've had in the past.
Okay, thank you. Dave, did you want to say what you kind of said before?
Do I need to repeat that, Amy?
I can go back to the recording.
Thank you. I'd gladly do it.
No, I'll go back.
Okay, anybody else have anything to add to question 5?
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Brent.
I'd just add to that, the streams and ditches are 600 to 900 feet away. There's grass and hay fields in the immediate area. So, when we're talking about the water plan of the county, I think those things come into play as well.
Okay, thank you. Okay. I think we're kind of good. Anybody have any last minute questions? If not, we'll vote on our criteria questions. You guys ready for that? Okay. So we'll vote, and we got one condition, that cement stacking or slab for the manure. That's our condition. So when you're voting on this,
With the curbing also.
yes, yep, sorry, Correct, Marv, yep. Okay. Question 1, the use will not put excess burden on roadways, utilities, and public facilities such as parks and schools. John?
Yes.
Myself, Clint Catherine's yes. Brent?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Marvin?
Yes.
Question 2, the request will not be detrimental to the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted, nor impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of the surrounding vacant property for uses predominant in the area. I'll vote yes on that. Myself, Clint, Brent,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Marvin,
Yes.
John.
Yes.
Okay, question 3. The use and opinion of the planning commission is reasonably related to the existing land use and the environment. Groundwater, surface water, and air quality in the surrounding area will not be adversely affected by the proposed use. Brent,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Marvin,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
myself, Clint is yes. Question 4, the use is consistent with the purposes of the zoning ordinance and the purposes of the zoning district in which the applicant intends to locate the proposed use. Dave,
Yes.
Marvin,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
myself, Clint is yes. Brent?
Yes.
Question 5, the use is not in conflict with the comprehensive plan or water plan of the county. Marvin,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
myself, Clint is yes. Brent,
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Okay, so we have, looks like all the questions are answered in affirmative, so would somebody like to make a motion that we recommend approval?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Brent.
I would make a recommendation that we move this forward to the county board on May, is it 16? No.
23rd.
23.
With the condition?
With the one condition regarding the concrete pad with curbing prior to stocking.
Okay, is there a second?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, John.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. There's a motion made and seconded to recommend approval for this applicant with the one condition of a cement slab with curbing to contain stacked manure. All in favor say aye. Myself, Clint, aye. Brent,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Marvin,
Aye.
John.
Aye.
Okay. So we'll recommend to the commissioners that to approve this, and that meeting will be on May 23rd. So you do not have to be there. You can if you'd like. If you have any questions before that, contact Amy or her staff in Land Services.
I'll make a comment.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to let you know, I know when we built our first barn, it was like, here's your building permit, have fun, go for it, and nobody told you anything. And I just wanna give kudos to your staff, because like, Rob gave me a manure management plan, and it was the coolest thing ever to see and figure out. Maybe we're nerdy farmers, but they've just helped so much in learning all of these things that we had no idea about before.
Well, thank you. I will pass that on to Rob. I appreciate that very much.
Yeah, we never get good comments. Yeah. So if you guys would like, you can leave you're done here. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
For your time.
Yep. Okay, I guess we got our minutes from April 4th. That should be wrong.
Mr. Chair, I
Should be
found
May
a word that
2nd.
needs helping.
Go ahead, Dave.
Under number 1, second paragraph down, end of the paragraph, complaint versus compliant. Not a big deal. But Sharon never makes mistakes, so it's really good to point them out when she does.
Okay. Anybody have any other corrections or additions to the minutes? If not, we'll make a motion for the corrected minutes. Approve.
I move that we'd accept the minutes as corrected.
Okay, is there a second?
I'd second that.
Okay, motion's made and seconded to approve the corrected minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Marv,
Aye.
Brent,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Dave.
Aye.
Myself, Clint is aye. Okay, any new business, Amy, you know of any?
I do not have any, Mr. Chair.
Don't have any? How about old business? Anybody have any? Amy, none?
Have any of that either, Mr. Chair.
Okay, take a motion to adjourn.
I'd make that motion, Mr. Chair.
Yep.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, meeting adjourned.